Hi everyone. In this video, we will take a look at the document translation feature within SUVAS. Once logged in, the user can click on Translate Document. This leads to the upload page for document translation. Here the user can upload PDF or docx file that needs to be translated from one language to another. The user can click on the drag and drop button on the left side and select a file to be uploaded, or the user can drag a file and drop it onto the browser in this area. Let's say I have selected a file to be uploaded here, and once selected, the source language of the document needs to be selected ahead. In this case, the document that we are uploading is written in English, so we will select English. The target language indicates the language to which the document will be translated to. In our case, let's consider it to be Hindi. Once selected, the user can enter an optional description for their reference and click on Upload. After uploading the document, the user will see the progress within translation status. The top of the translation menu shows the job ID. This job ID uniquely identifies this translation within SUVAS system. This helps us identify any issues faced during the translation process using the job ID. The document goes through various tasks for translation to occur, such as file conversion, sentence tokenization, and translation. The last step is translation, after which the document can be viewed in the dashboard. The user can wait until the completion of the translation to click on Go to Dashboard, or the user can click Upload another document to upload another document for translation. Let's take a look at the dashboard for now. This consists of all the documents translated by the user till date. We see the list of files translated so far with details such as file name, source language, target language, the time taken for translation, the start date and time of the translation, and the status of the translation. We can see the status of the translation using the info button. If the user has encountered errors during translation where a particular font may not be supported, in such case, you would be able to identify the exact error. In our case, the status is completed, the task has successfully been performed. If the user encounters errors during translation where a font is not supported, the document can be digitized first through the document digitization feature to ensure that the font error does not occur. View document shows a split view of the source document on the left-hand side and sentence cards on the right-hand side. The source document on the left-hand side is uploaded by the user. On the right-hand side, each sentence card shows the original sentence and the translated sentence upon the drop-down. Anuvaad is used to translate documents from one language to another. There are a few challenges faced during translation. We see that a single word may have multiple meanings and translations depending on the domain it is used in. For example, the phrase bread and butter has two meanings in the domain in which they are utilized. Within food, they simply mean bread and butter, which would be translated to roti or makhan. However, as a noun phrase, it means the main source of income or livelihood. When we perform translation for a domain such as law or sports, such phrases having generalized meaning may provide wrong translations. To accommodate for this, we can use an additional tool called Glossary within Anuvaad. Let's take a look at the translation bread and butter to be updated. To modify the same, we can see the word or the phrase bread and butter here and its translation as roti or makhan. For us to modify this, given the assumption that we might encounter this phrase often, and each time we encounter this phrase, the meaning of it in translation in Hindi should be a different text. We should select this particular text. Upon selection, you can see an option here stating Add to Glossary. Once selected the text, we can enter the target text that it should be translated to in the future translations. Let's enter the right translation in our case. Let's say in our case, bread and butter needs to be translated to Ajivika ka Srot. We would write the right text here and save the same. Once it is saved, any further translation of a sentence having bread and butter in English, instead of being translated to roti or makkan in Hindi, would be automatically translated to Ajivika ka Srot instead. Let's take a look at it. Upon clicking retranslate, you might observe that bread and butter is selected in bold here, indicating that it has a glossary entry, and you can observe its glossary entry accordingly as Ajivika ka Srot. To keep in mind, if we are serving the role of translator in an organization and we would require the entire organization to utilize the same glossary, instead of just adding the word to glossary, we might use suggest glossary. This would follow the same process as we did earlier. However, this would provide the glossary over to the administrator of our organization who would then approve. Given a scenario where there is an organization with multiple translators and there is an administrator who might be needed to allow these default translations to be overridden, the same can be done by using suggest glossary. The administrator's account will receive these suggested glossaries. They can either approve or reject them accordingly. Upon making the modification, the user can click on complete button to finish the editing process. If we edit any sentence in a sentence card and save it, it will become the default translation only for us in the future. For instance, if the word left is currently translated to chhod diya, it can also be translated to baaye, meaning left in terms of directions. The moment any editing, such as the one that we are making, is performed, final editing process of the document begins. This is the term used for manual editing within the sentence cards. Let's modify left to baaye. We also have an option called transliteration in case the user or translator would like to write the text in Hindi. The user can write it as by and they would get the appropriate options in the language that we are translating it to. So let's select a particular operation here and let's just perform the translation. We can observe that the blue score here is less than 1. 1 indicates that it is the exact translation that the machine learning model thinks it is correct. Anything less than 1, the machine learning model thinks that this is not the most accurate translation according to its learning. However, based on human experience, we know that this could be a better translation. Please note that it is not advised to use by as a glossary translation for the word left. If I choose the word left particularly, ignoring the full stop right after it, because I would require only the word left to be replaced in future and added to glossary, every translation of the word left will be converted to by. In case we have a sentence such as he left the house, it would by default translate left as by, which would lead to an incorrect translation. Hence, it is advised that only words that are added within glossary are the words which have specific meaning in a certain domain. They are not used regularly in everyday language. This would hamper the translation so that any translation of the word left, whether it is a sentence such as he left the house or whether it is a sentence such as it is to his left, will be translated to by default. It is hence advised that glossary is used for specific noun phrases only. For example, noun phrases like Supreme Court of India or noun phrases like learned counsel, which have specific meaning in the domain. Let's assume a scenario where within the document, a sentence is supposed to be in a single line, but it is somehow in 2 different lines, or the model has not picked it up as a sentence properly. In this case, selling fruits is the bread and butter of Mahesh's life is supposed to be a single sentence. But since it is split into two different sentences, and so is the translation, we can use merge feature here to combine the meaning of both of these. So once merge now is clicked, it would ensure that this source sentence is combined and so is its translation. The same can be performed in case you would like to split to two different sentences in terms of translation. We can go ahead, click on split sentence, and it would appropriately split the source sentence into two different sentences and their translations alike. Upon making the modifications, the user can click Complete button to finish final editing process. The user, once confirmed, will not be able to edit this document further on. And we can see final editing is set to be completed once you have clicked on Complete. After clicking on Complete, we would not be able to modify any sentences. As you can see, the edit sentence box is no longer available here. However, we can download the document, that is the translated document, in any format that we would like. Let us download it as a docx file and see how it looks like. We can see the downloaded document would be in the exact same format as the original document that was uploaded. You could similarly upload docx files and PDF documents with images and tables alike. Once a document translation has been performed and any editing on the document is performed as well, using a reviewer account for the organization, the reviewer can then review the translation process. In our case, we have uploaded a document which has been converted from English to Hindi. Let's take a look at the translated document. In this case, you can see all the machine translation and any manual translation that has been performed. In this case, left has been modified to by. If all the translations are as expected, we can ensure that they're correct and move ahead. If any translation is not as expected, we can add a review accordingly saying that this should be merged. Because selling fruits here and is the bread and butter of Mahesh's life are supposed to be a single sentence. So I can provide a suggestion saying that this should be merged as part 1, and similarly this should be merged as part 2. Such comments would be provided back to the translator, who will have the option to re-edit the document and make the appropriate translations. So once the review comments are updated, we can move ahead and complete this review. Once any comments are added, the reviewer could either approve the completion of this translation or send it for correction, because we have observed one change required within this document. In our case, we will send it back for correction and confirm it, which means it will go ahead for re-editing by the translator. These features are provided to ensure that any translation made will be verified by the reviewer of the organization, who can then contribute towards better translation in future as well. This can also be utilized to ensure that translations are accurate, which can further help improve the future translations, as these accurately translated documents can be fed back to the machine learning models to improve SUVAS translations on a domain-to-domain basis. Thank you for checking out this video on the feature of SUVAS, that is translation. Please note that some features may have been changed since recording this video, but the application would largely remain the same.